Seeing your own face clearly used to be a luxury almost nobody could afford. The earliest mirrors weren't glass at all. Around 8,000 years ago, at a settlement called Çatalhöyük in what's now Turkey, people polished chunks of volcanic obsidian until they were smooth and reflective enough to show a blurry, dark reflection. It wasn't clear, but it was the first time humans could reliably look at their own face without staring into a pond. Metal took over next. Ancient Egyptians polished bronze and copper into small hand mirrors, often shaped like the sun disk, tied up in religious symbolism about the goddess Hathor and the idea of seeing your soul as well as your face. In Han Dynasty China, bronze mirrors became so significant that people were buried with them, cast with intricate cosmological designs on the back, meant to ward off evil in the afterlife. Greece and Rome kept the tradition of polished metal alive too, though Roman writers describe early experiments with glass, backed with lead or tin, in the city of Sidon, centuries before Europe figured out how to do it well. And then, for a very long stretch, mirror technology barely moved. Medieval Europeans made do with small, cloudy, convex mirrors, glass blown into a bubble, then coated inside with a metal that clouded with age. Clarity was still centuries away. The breakthrough came from Venice, specifically from the glass-making island of Murano, sometime in the 1500s. Murano's craftsmen worked out how to back flat glass with an amalgam of tin and mercury, producing something startlingly close to a modern mirror, clear, flat, and genuinely reflective. Venice understood exactly what it had. Mirror making became a closely guarded state secret, and glass workers who tried to leave the island and sell their knowledge elsewhere risked assassination by agents of the Venetian state. For decades, if you wanted a real mirror, you paid Venice's price, which is exactly why King Louis XIV of France wanted in. In the 1670s, French agents bribed several Murano craftsmen to defect to Paris in secret, smuggling them past Venetian spies determined to stop them. The payoff was the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, completed in 1684, more than 300 mirrors lining a single hallway, an explicit, glittering insult to Venice's broken monopoly, and one of the most extravagant displays of wealth Europe had ever seen. Even after that, mirrors stayed a rich person's object for another century and a half. An ornate dressing mirror from the early 1700s could cost more than a servant's yearly wage, a genuine status symbol reserved for aristocratic bedrooms. The object that finally made mirrors ordinary wasn't a king, it was a chemist. In 1835, the German chemist Justus von Liebig developed a process for depositing a thin, even layer of actual silver onto glass using silver nitrate, and a simple chemical reaction. No more toxic mercury amalgam required. It was safer, cheaper, and far easier to reproduce at scale. Within a few decades, factories across Europe and America were mass-producing mirrors using Liebig's method, and something that had once needed a state-sponsored heist became affordable for an ordinary household. Once mirrors were everywhere, people started finding new jobs for them. In 1911, race car driver Ray Haroon won the very first Indianapolis 500 driving a car called the Marmon Wasp, and he did it without a riding mechanic looking backward for him, the usual setup at the time. Instead, he bolted a small mirror to the dashboard, reasoning he could check behind him without the extra weight of a passenger. Other drivers thought he was reckless. He won anyway, and the rearview mirror gradually became standard equipment on cars everywhere. By the mid-20th century, the mirror had finished its journey from sacred, expensive rarity to the most unremarkable object in the house, hanging over every bathroom sink, propped on every dresser. Scientists even started using mirrors to study the minds of animals. In 1970, the psychologist Gordon Gallup devised what's now called the mirror test, marking an animal's face with a dot it could only see in reflection, then checking whether the animal touched the mark on its own body or reacted to the mirror as if it were a stranger. Chimpanzees, dolphins, elephants, and magpies have passed. Most animals, including human toddlers under about 18 months, simply treat the reflection as another creature entirely. And through all of that, one old superstition never quite died. Break a mirror, and folklore says you're in for 7 years of bad luck, a belief that traces back to Roman ideas that a mirror held a piece of your soul, and that soul needed exactly 7 years to renew itself after being shattered. So the next time you glance in a mirror without thinking twice, remember, this object was once worth killing over, cost more than a house, and took 8,000 years to go from a polished rock to something you barely notice on your way out the door. Follow for the next object.